Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view, from the Casablanca studio in Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now here's your host, Art Carlson.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view. We've got a great show today. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about, well, of course, the riots. We're going to talk about the riots all over the country. It's crazy. It's nuts. And then we're going to talk about Trump declaring Antifa a terrorist group, which is cool. And we'll talk about Trump versus Twitter and his executive order on that. And then what else? Oh, and other hot topics. So there's Lloyd. He just joined us. He's just sitting down and ready to get his ears on, and we'll get going here. All right.
I'm ready to go,
man. Welcome to
the
show, Lloyd. Glad you can make it.
Hey, sorry about that. I was watching the time, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh.
Yeah.
I turn that down. I missed it.
Let's jump in with the riots happening all over the country.
Yeah. I can understand the I can understand the protest if everything comes out the way that it looks like it is in that city. I don't see the justification for, now I say protest, let me make sure everybody understands. Right. Protest, we're talking like, perfect example I saw was Martin Luther King. They showed him protesting in, where was it, Selma? Was that where it was at? Or
right.
Yeah, Selma, Alabama, when he was marching through there. They were arm in arm, doing their thing. Peaceful protest. Then they turned around and showed pictures of what's going on in Wisconsin. Is it Wisconsin? Yeah. Minneapolis. They started showing what's going on there. And it's shown looting and rioting and burning. That's criminal. The first is a protest. The second is criminal.
That's right.
And but it's okay for them to protest if
right.
The citizens feel that they have been violated, then let them protest.
Right.
But being criminal about it is wrong.
Right.
For that city, that's them to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason we should have had it up in Tulsa. There's no reason you should have had it in Denver or Los Angeles or St. Louis, Missouri, or any of those places. There's no justification for that whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
My opinion.
Yeah, compare and contrast that to, let's say the Tea Party protests. None of those protests ever got remotely violent. They were peaceful protests, and that was, as a matter of fact, the Tea Party protests actually picked up their garbage. They left the place cleaner than when they got there. And now you got these young idiots going nuts, going around destroying property, hurting people. I heard about a shop owner who was killed by protesters, and that's just nuts. I mean, there is just no justification. And let's all talk about what sparked this whole thing. And it all stems from an African-American man who was arrested and, being held down, and you saw the photograph where the cop has his knee on the guy's neck. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's no justification for cops to do something like that. Get the guy down, handcuff him, throw him in the squad car.
Let
That's
me add a little insight to that. Oh, go ahead. Finish. You let me finish mine. You finish yours.
Okay. Now the coroner's report shows that he didn't die of asphyxiation, but of coronary disease, and that's what that being held down, that triggered that event, and that's sadly that's how he died. But because of the photographs you see, that just puts the whole situation in a very precarious position, and that's what started this whole thing. And the cop that held the guy down was arrested for third-degree murder. I'm surprised the other cops that were there weren't arrested for accessory to it. But
they may well be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let
go ahead.
me put a little. All right. Let me do a counter to that. Not a counter to that, but and I am spiking
Addendum
out my sound
to
here.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me put an addendum to it. Okay. Let me reference the picture. Okay. Everybody's seen the picture. Everybody's seen about a minute and 20 seconds of video, probably. Of the actual video, without the talking heads on either side of that video. They've probably seen about, but there is a 7-minute video out there, and I found out about this. Greg's been sending me some stuff too, but Oz by Drone, for those that don't know who he is. But I did some looking last night because I knew this was going to come up.
Right.
And the longest video, they show the guy, the police officer, with his knee on the guy's neck for over 7 minutes. And once he stopped struggling, once he went limp, the police officer never looked down. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes you have to put the knee in the back to hold them down. Sometimes they struggle, your knee slips. But the first thing they said, as soon as he said, "I can't breathe," they should have, because the person who actually pointed this out was another police officer in a different division.
Right.
And he was a black police officer. And he pointed out that what he should have done was pulled his knee back. They should have restrained his feet if he was kicking, then turn him on his side. That this happens all the time, but it's not always done by it's not always filmed, and it hardly ever exasperates heart disease or condition but that's what caused this. They can, cutting off the flow to the brain. Well, they could say, well, yeah, his heart stopped. Heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
They said it was exacerbated by the alcohol.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question, Art. Do you know why they stopped him?
No, and that's a good point. But why did they stop him?
The reason is because he had passed a fake bill.
Oh, yes.
A fake $20 or $30 bill at a Chinese restaurant. Now, you and I, we're just average guys. And of course, I'm a fat white guy, you're a short white guy, but either way, we wouldn't have been questioned. They would have just said, you get this funny money at the bank? And I would have said, yeah, that's where I got it from, or I got it from this store. Yeah. That would have been the end of it, And, but they had to follow up for whatever reason. I don't know why it took 4 cops to subdue him. Why, I don't know any of those circumstances because that hasn't been released yet.
Right.
But as everybody's saying, this this, you know, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
This doesn't justify. I mean, I personally, and this is, I didn't get a chance to talk with my son about it. We were just visiting about what is speculation. I don't. Jaybird saying something was speculation. I'm not sure what he was referring to.
Yeah.
You know, as far as his death goes, anybody who's ever been around law enforcement or been in law enforcement knows you don't hold down on the neck for 7 minutes. And once he went limp, they should have pulled back.
Right.
You know, once he quit struggling. Now, did he go limp because he was dying, or did he go limp because, you know, it's
kind of
but
throw him off?
He's originally stopped, you know, for the suspicion of passing a bad
counterfeit
bill,
money.
you know,
Yeah.
and counterfeit money. Yeah, my mind went blank on that. But did he? Why did he? You know, what was their justification?
They get combative when they.
We could have walked into the restaurant with fake money and could have been questioned. Yeah, there's a number of reasons why they, you know, he may be far enough away and they had a description, and you know, because here's the thing, you know, like I don't know if Jaber's what he's referring to, but the whole thing is it could have been handled different by the police officers, but I don't know when the last time you guys called the cops to your place of business or your house. It's going to take them a few minutes to get there.
Right.
You know, that's why my house is protected by Smith and Wesson.
Yeah.
But you know, because the cops know they can't get there in time. I know the cops can't get there in time. You know.
Right.
Well, I got one that lives next door. He would be here before the others. So,
right.
you know, but that's my son.
I have a friend. This happened years ago, and he's Hispanic. We had lunch at a restaurant, and he paid his bill, and we were getting ready to leave, and we were kind of chatting on the way out, and these cops showed up, and they started talking to him, and next thing I know, he's back in the restaurant. I'm not sure if he drove or what, but turns out the $20 bill that they gave him was a counterfeit, and he got that money from a Walmart where he purchased some items, and he happened to have a $100 bill, and they gave him change, and one of the bills, or maybe several of the 20s, were phony. So so he told them the story, and they checked up on him, and that was it. He was let go, and he told the restaurant owner or the manager there that he would pay his bill. So so that was taken care of.
Well,
there was just
Mike,
no fuss.
It could have been handled. We don't know the circumstances.
Right.
I want to address 3 things in the chat. One is we got a troll.
We do?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, and...
Yeah. Second, Mike Roche brings up that he's got...
Okay, Anti-Satan is Antigone.
Antigone, yeah. And Mike Roche brings up that he's got 2 cops in his family. They just want to do their job and go home. My son's the same way. He's a chief of police, but he has to go out. It's a small department, so he has to go out and patrol too. And so, yeah, this, you know, and I heard this officer last night on this video, and if I can find it again, I'll share it. But, yeah. it's just fun when they come in, isn't it, Art? Entertaining to have a troll. But anyways, this guy starts out the video by quoting the law enforcement oath, which is similar to one used in half a dozen or hundreds and hundreds of police departments throughout the United States. Second thing I want to talk about is what Mike also said they had rioting in his town last night.
Wow.
And
up in
Mitch
Syracuse?
said he got a counterfeit $100 bill at the bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great, Ron. But Ron brought up something too. That's my next point is, if they don't prosecute this cop, and if they don't prosecute him, then the national riots are going to go. On.
Yeah, it'll go.
I think
nuts.
I remember last week. I think I remember a question I asked last week. I was like, hell, I hadn't asked it. I said, where's Antifa?
Yeah.
Where's Black Lives Matters? Where's
Well-
all these groups at now? Well, the COVID's getting over with, and guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Here we are.
Yep. That's
I
right.
do like the fact that the Attorney General said any outsiders coming into a city like this to protest, they're being brought in from out of state, will be arrested for,
Right.
I think it's called interstate, I don't know, it's crossing state lines with the intent of incite to riot.
Right.
And that's a federal law.
Now I've got a question.
Yes, Jaybird, you're right.
I have several friends that are lawyers. Now, if we could find out who is paying these people, could they be liable for damages? Could, say this money is coming from George Soros or one of his organizations? Could
Right.
could some business owner get a hotshot attorney and sue these people?
Yeah, I
For
think not
damages.
only could it happen, I think it should happen.
Yeah. And I think that would stop
here's
a
the
lot of the stuff.
I think it would. And here's the thing. The neighborhood they're protesting and they're burning down are predominantly black neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
You mentioned that they went to the Capitol. And
Right.
was it in Denver that they went to Capitol and
Yep.
threw stuff? Did you say? Yeah, okay. So they went to the Capitol. All right. Well, that's also Denver, but the city of Denver, but that's where the Capitol building is at. And they protested in front of that. Okay, they threw some rocks and broke some things. All right, that's not excusable. But the thing is they didn't go to the poorest neighbor, although there is
Well,
some pretty poor
if
neighbors.
you go to the north of the Capitol, there's some low-income
Right.
housing apartments there.
Yeah. What was it called? 5 Points? Is
No,
that in,
that's
I can't
called
remember where that's
Capitol
at
Hill
now.
there. 5 Points is to
Capitol Hill, okay.
the north of Denver.
Okay, all right. That used to be a pretty bad place.
Yeah, 5 Points is changing now. And they're talking about
Is it?
changing the
Okay.
name to the Rhino District. Don't ask me why, but they want to change it. But
Yeah, the Rhino
it's being
District, yeah.
redeveloped and gentrified, where a lot of young, up-and-coming people are moving in, and they're building these apartments with no parking because they're trying to discourage
That doesn't
people
make it-
from owning a vehicle. Go figure that.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's
And not
typical.
only that,
But,
but
you
they're taking dumpsters and setting them on fire and pushing them out on the Colfax. You know, that's the main street that goes through Denver. And it goes right by the Capitol.
Yeah.
And we have a curfew
Yeah.
now. So the curfew starts at 8 p.m., goes to 5 a.m.
Okay. There you go, Jaybird. Jaybird's just chomping at the bit to get on here, but yeah, it's not the way this show works like other shows. But
Yeah.
I am watching your. Yeah, the rioting has. Let me address that. The rioting has been in predominantly Democrat cities. I mean, we had protests in Tulsa, but that's all it was. It was protest, and we had the same thing during the Ferguson riots. We had protests, but they were peaceful. Nobody in this part of the country wants to. Guys that are watching, I shared with Art some of our history in Oklahoma and in Tulsa. Nobody wants to relive that nightmare. So, let's see. And as far, there you go. He said, why aren't curfews in place? Well, there you go. They put it in place in Denver, and curfews are just the only people who's going to obey. And this is where people, they don't see it, but it's like gun control. The only people who are actually going to follow the laws and the rules are, the honest people. Curfews aren't going to stop anybody. If there's a curfew in my town, if I want to drive through downtown, I'm going to drive through downtown. Unless they stop me and ticket me, and then I'll say, okay, I won't do that again.
Right.
But, should we really be spending all of our time and money having police officers out there babysitting? No.
Right.
We need to get this, solved. I got to admit, one of the most interesting things I saw about this was when a CNN reporter got arrested. I just thought that was so wonderful. Or cameraman, I can't remember which.
Yeah.
I think it was, one.
Well, the CNN headquarters down in Atlanta got vandalized by protesters. So how ironic is that? And they didn't even report on it. Nobody is talking about it. And
they're saying it's buffering a little bit.
I noticed we're in the red on the live, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I dropped it down to 480, and it's still. Yeah. It is what it is, folks. There's a lot going on in the world right now. We're still dealing with COVID. We're still dealing with. We got these riots going on around the country. Everybody and their uncle is out there with a cell phone broadcasting live from the nearest riot. So that's eating up bandwidth for something worthwhile like this show. You people out there in the world that are protesting, you need to go home because you're screwing with our show by using up all the bandwidth.
Yeah,
we'll watch a good Netflix show.
That's right. Yeah.
And I can joke about this, but it's, and I've noticed that, like I said last week, where was Black Lives Matters? Well, here we go. It all started out.
They're here.
Hey, let me ask you, do you think this was the only thing that happened like this? Just this one incident happened in all the stuff around the world? You think this is the only one? No, this is the one that was in an area that already was a tinderbox. And they played the videos to show. It was horrendous. I mean, I've seen it, and it's not something I want to watch. But it was wrong. We don't know the circumstances yet. I still don't know why they wrestled him to the ground. I haven't seen that part. Or all the video that's out there, nobody's really showing that part. What was he resisting? I haven't seen it. And to be honest with you, I haven't been searching hard for it because this last couple of weeks I've had other crap on my mind,
Right.
so dealing with, worrying about Judy and dealing with that and all that. So, but I'm
You
back.
gotta take care of that stuff. Yeah.
Things are good, and things are good, and I'm ready to get on with. Let's see, I didn't have. There we go. I don't know what was going on with my box there, but it had all the wrong buttons pulled up. But
Have you
anyways,
seen this meme going around on Facebook of Dr. Evil on the phone? He goes, "So, pandemic, not worried? Okay, riots. Let's start riots."
yeah,
Yep.
that's it. That's my whole point. I said last week, where's Black Lives Matter? Well, they're here. They're still strong. Everything that they do, you notice this always happens in the liberal cities. It just,
Yep.
and you're right, Jay Bird. They really do. And Ray Kelly's in here too.
Oh, good.
But yeah,
Here's
go ahead.
Here's my theory. This year has been an ongoing coup d'état going on. The impeachment failed. Now we have riots, and I think the third phase that's going to happen this fall is all the major media outlets are going to refuse to play Donald Trump ads and Republican ads. They're going to have a blackout on it. I wouldn't be surprised if they, because I know on YouTube wouldn't allow Donald Trump to play ads on YouTube.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason he signed that executive order, is so that to stop or at least slow down that sort of action.
Right. Because
I was
Twitter became a publisher, and when they started acting like a publisher, then that's why Donald Trump signed that executive order to say, hey, you're a social media platform. You are not a publisher, so you're going to have to allow us to tell our side of the story, because now I think it's going to get to a point where the media is going to try to only allow their point of view on the air. And that's the one thing that the internet's going to counter that. Shows like this.
I think it will. There's a new thing out, and I got to look it up because I belong to it. It's like Dan Bongino and stuff like that. It's the anti-Twitter, I guess you would call it. And it's for conservatives. It's more, the problem is when you leave these platforms, you're giving up your rights to protest against them. Like, we can protest against YouTube because we're YouTube content creators.
Right.
We can protest against Twitter because, we're involved with Twitter, Facebook, all of that. I despise Facebook. The only thing I use it for, I had that little test going on about the legs under the table that, but it was a fun thing. But, for the most part, I don't follow Twitter because it's usually somebody's family drama, or somebody gets offended and unfriends you because of your political content, or blah, 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 And so I use Facebook just simply to make sure my brother and sister are still alive, and to look at Facebook Marketplace, when I'm looking for something. That's it. That's all it's good for.
Right. Well, and I use
that's it.
To
Arler,
for many things.
Thank you, Mitch. Yeah.
And I use
Parler
it
is the name
to
of that,
promote my
thing
different YouTube channels and to kind of voice my opinion and to see what other people are talking about, and also to keep up with friends, you know, like my high school friends, keep in touch with them, and my
Right.
family, and yeah, so it's kind of a deal for me. You know, it keeps me from getting bored out of my head, you know.
Yeah, well, I used to do that, but I've got there's so much on YouTube that I like to watch, and I watch very little news anymore. I just got
Same here.
frustrated with it. Uh, I hear it on the radio because we have a conservative talk radio here in Tulsa, but it
Right.
runs to here, and I listen to that. There's one of the top 5 talk show hosts that I just want to strangle sometimes because he has a bad habit of asking his guest a question and then answering it for him, you know?
Oh, Sean
And
Hannity.
it's so like, yeah, exactly. I knew all I had to do. You
Yeah.
know, yeah. Sean Hannity loves to hear himself talk worse than I do.
Yeah. Well, you know, Mike Roach just posted in the chat that Fox News reporter said there's going to be more protests tonight. You know? Yeah. It just,
I love what he says, though. Who schedules protests for night?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Who organizing this night? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
It's a Soros
yeah, I know.
funded organization. Here's what George Soros does. He's a multi-billionaire. So what he does is, because of McCain-Feingold, it allows him to set up these organizations, and they could pretty much hide their money that way. They don't have to tell them, hey, where'd the money come from? So
Right. Yeah.
they have, instead of just one big organization where the money goes in and then it's funneled out to organizations and candidates, they set up like hundreds of organizations, and they sent the money to them, and that money gets redirected back to organizations like Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and those organizations or candidates and organizations like that.
Yeah. And you can't say that this is not a coordinated effort. I mean, good Lord, when did this happen? When did the guy die? Was it like last Monday or Tuesday?
Something
Wednesday?
like that.
Yeah. And we've got cities on fire across the United States. This is organized, folks, and if you can't see what it is, you know, they've got a problem. This is the same sort of thing that Fidel Castro did against Batista. This
Right.
is the way he organized it, you know, and he took out broadcasting. Well, they've already done that, you know, because almost all broadcast organizations are, we're the last line of defense here at the in YouTube, and we've been lucky that look how many people. I mean, like Blaze TV. What good is Blaze TV for the average person? The average Democrat, slightly left of center. They're not going to watch Blaze TV.
Yeah.
Because they know that's a conservative talk show. They're preaching to the choir. This is what, I am glad that they do put excerpts of their shows on YouTube, because then other people will see it, but if we are the last line of defense, because it doesn't, having your own TV channel and that's conservative talk, the liberals are not going to go watch that channel, you know? So we have to have channels that are slightly left of center, but will give a fair balance and a fairer balance. And the best we got is Fox News. And it's just starting to lean left further and further.
Yeah.
They're getting further away from the microphone, because they're leaning further left. The farther left I lean, the worse I sound. And that's the way they are.
Yep, that's true. When Rupert Murdoch handed the keys over to his sons, they decided, hey, we're going to move the network more to the center. And, maybe that is a good business decision. And they'll take some of the... Well, people still see Fox as a right-wing organization, and leftists are still not going to watch it. But they might be able to take some of the people that are on the fringe, that are more towards the center,
independent,
and maybe they'll
or
start
those,
watching.
The independents, the centrists, and that's what we're missing out at being, we go too far to the right, we're no better than the left.
Right.
And
that's correct.
I understand that, because I'm not a full-blown far right-wing conservative.
Yeah. Same here.
There's certain things that I think I just don't see the bother in some of it, I have certain views about certain things, and they're probably more conservative than they are liberal, but
right.
Like, here's one of the things that used to get me, and I look at it, you have the right, they're anti-abortion. Okay, let's go with that. But yet, they're pro-death penalty. Wait a minute. If it's right to life, if it's save a life, all human life should be, considered, sacred.
Well,
that's just it.
Here, Lloyd, this is where you know about restitution and reciprocity, and that's what the whole when you
I understand
steal somebody something, then you gotta pay for what you did. You take someone's life,
and I'm using that. Yes.
Okay.
Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. I'm not arguing that I'm not saying that I'm necessarily anti-death penalty, because I carry a gun. Somebody attacks me and threatens my life, I'm going to make sure that I carry out the sentence myself.
Yeah.
If my life is threatened, I will shoot back.
Okay.
The difference is what gets me is some of these far right people that are so they'll burn down an abortion clinic, which okay, I don't have a real problem with that. Other than the fact that it's not justified. We need to be changing the laws, not burning down the places.
Right.
We don't need to be killing the doctors that do it, because then when you kill a doctor for that, because they did it, you blow them up in their office, and you kill an innocent that may be there. You're no better than the abortionist.
Yeah, that's right.
That's where I'm saying all life needs to be considered sacred. There's some guys that are purely evil that should have got the death penalty that didn't. But I think sometimes the death penalty was used at one time, and sometimes it's still being used as a political maneuver, and I think that's wrong. prosecutors trying to keep their jobs, because they want to get reelected in the next election, because they're running for, attorney general of the state or whatever. So, sometimes I think, in Mike Roach, he says he's pro-life and anti-death penalty. So, you have to look at it, and if you've been around somebody, watched somebody die, and you've seen the way some people die, you have to stop and say, oh, man, that's rough.
Yeah.
But if it was one of my kids that got murdered, I'm not even sure they'd get to trial.
Right.
From my point of view, But I've also told my grandkids, you break into my house and try to rob us, we are protected by Smith & Wesson, and I will take you out.
Right.
Because I've got some grandkids that are spending time in prison because they're thieves. And they know full well that I mean what I say. But doesn't mean I'll like it. I don't like death. I hope I never, ever have to use my pistol. But the point is, I do make life sacred. All lives, good and bad,
Right.
This guy could have been he could have been a child rapist. He didn't deserve to die the way he did. He deserved to die, I think. That's one of the groups of people I don't feel sorry for is pedophiles.
Yeah.
Or sex traffickers. I think if we put those people on trial for their lives, maybe that would actually do some good at stopping some of this, But we don't have the death penalty for those kind of situations. So, like I said, I'm not a true conservative. I'm not a true liberal. I'm just an average person with age on my side to make me look at the world different than I did, 40 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm getting the same way. I used to be pro-choice up until about 20 years ago, and I started looking at things. Once you're older and you have more experience in life, you start seeing the world in a whole different way than you did when you were in your 20s.
Right.
And
I've always been pro-life. Well, at least since I was at least 18.
Right.
I've always been pro-life, and because I was one of those young men that was put in that situation of whether something should be done or not. I got married.
Right.
I got divorced later, but I got married. I said this is the right thing to do, and
right.
So yeah, I've always been pro-choice, or not pro-life. There's too many pros.
Yeah.
I've been anti-abortion and pro-life. There we go.
Hey, let's welcome Carlos for coming in. Yeah.
Carlos, all right. Our resident libertarian.
Yeah.
Yay.
So here in
we
Colorado,
need swift justice.
They pretty much did away with the death penalty here in Colorado now that the Democrats control both houses in the assembly, and
right.
The only Democrat that was still pro death penalty was Rhonda Fields, because her son and her future daughter-in-law were murdered by gang members who, because her son witnessed a murder, and while that guy was in jail, he got his buddies to ambush him and killed him outside their apartment. And so she was pro-death penalty all along because not only the guy that was on trial for murder, that her son witnessed this whole thing, he was on death row, and the guy that killed his son, or her son, he was on death penalty. Now it looks like their sentences are going to be commuted to life without the possibility of parole.
Parole. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and here's where I have an issue. This guy was still able to kill people while he was in prison. You know, and that's why he was on death row. So, you know, that kind of changes the whole ball of wax about the death penalty, because if he's gone, he's not going to be able to, have people carry out murders for him, because he was, I guess, a leader of a gang. And this is my issue about the death penalty. That, if you just have, life without the possibility of parole, that guy is still going to be able to kill people.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have another troll.
Oh, we do? Oh, my. Trolling. Do, 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 do,
down at the bottom.
Trolling. Do. Let's get another troller. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Well, we must be doing something,
doing something right. We got trolls coming in.
Out.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that pop up and I thought, well, I was going to notify you about it because I was just fixing to put them in timeout. Yeah.
We're putting you in the timeout for 300 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
We're putting you in timeout. You know, when you do that, you do sound like a munchkin.
You know, you can always just shut my mic off if I insult it too bad. I don't mean to, Art. Mel threatens it all the time.
Yeah.
And I understand. Sometimes I need to be put in timeout.
So let's change the topic a little bit, going into the final few minutes here into the show. The Democrats have decided, that exemption for senior citizens on property tax, well, they did away with that. So now, the elderly and people with disabilities who own property, their taxes are going to go up.
Uh-huh.
So,
in Colorado, correct?
So, us old folks are getting screwed, man.
Yeah.
And,
you are referring to Colorado property tax, right?
Colorado, yeah. Here in Colorado, we have what's called the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, or TABOR. And that caps the rate of taxes to the growth of the state and the economy of the state. And the only way taxes can go up is if they put it on the ballot for a vote. And if it passes, then the taxes go up. And if it doesn't, well, hey, guess what? They're going to have to figure out how to budget things. And it just seems, I don't know what is wrong with Democrats. They can't figure out how to budget things. They always have to, and this is why conservation has no money, because they keep taking money out of, conservation, and they put it into their little pet projects.
Yeah.
When you have an initiative on the ballot that says, okay, we're going to have this new thing, and all the money is going to go for schools, and that's what the marijuana, recreational marijuana, was about. That was going to go to schools. Guess what? That money is not going to schools. And
Yeah, exactly.
And I swear,
Yeah, we've had the
Democrats-
same thing here.
Democrat politicians, they look at us like piggy banks. You know, that they can
Yeah.
grab us by the ankles and start shaking the money out of us.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And-
Yeah, we had the same thing with gambling. You know, gambling was supposed to save our education system. Well, we
Yep.
have, you know, balanced budget here too.
Yep.
And if they're going to raise taxes, they got to bring it to a vote. Or if they're going to add a new tax, you know, something like that, they have to bring it to a vote.
Right.
And but when they brought up the whole gambling thing, and they've modified that 2 or 3 times, when they brought it up, you know, hey, this was supposed to help pay for education,
Right.
but it seemed like the teachers' unions were, you know, they
They
went on
gobble
strike.
up all
I
the
think it was
money.
last year.
And then they say, we need more
Yeah, well,
money.
they went on strike last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if teachers didn't have to pay union dues, I think the teachers' union should refund their union dues. You know,
Yep.
because especially during this time period, they shouldn't be allowed to take it out of their pay.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they really wanted to help, and that's the thing, and you know, that's funny because teachers' union is probably the only union we have really left here in the state of Oklahoma. We got rid of most of them, and they're pretty, you know, they called on an unofficial strike. They had walkouts, you know, from they did that for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. All they did was lose the teachers' money, you know, because first off, there was no money. You know, our whole state budget was cut. It wasn't just the teachers that lost their money.
Right.
Every single department across the state, when things bottomed out, and we're probably, because we're usually about a year behind the rest of the country when it comes to getting hit by economic impact.
Right.
And so this shutdown, although it's hurt the person that's working, it won't really reflect until 6 months to a year after it's all over.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and when things come back to normal, if they do, if the liberals will allow it to come back to normal,
Mm-hmm.
it'll probably be 6 months after everybody else gets back to normal.
Yep.
We're just that, for some reason we don't suffer it as bad as a lot of states do. You know, just like COVID-19. You know, we leveled off and dropped. You know,
Yep.
and
Also,
so,
you know what else
everything is-
this whole thing is going to affect? It's going to affect the, like here in Colorado, we have PARA, which is the government, it's mostly for the teachers union, but it's for government entities that are part of this group, and all that money is being put into investments, and they made their promises were too lavish. They were telling everybody, "Oh, we guarantee an 8 or 9% growth." I'm like, "Oh, wow! Show me where that is. I want a piece of that." But they can't do that, and now they find out that they're underfunded by $30+ billion. So now comes COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody is off of work. There's no revenue coming in, and
Right.
the stock market starts to tank. Those retirees, they're going to get screwed because they overstated the amount of money that they were guaranteed to get, and this is where I want to see the state of Colorado is saying, all right, we're going away from para to a defined benefits plan instead of a defined contribution plan, more like a 401k,
Right.
where everybody
401k,
has
yeah,
their
yeah,
own fund and they can set it up any way they want, and it'll put less of a strain on the state. But guess what? The Democrats don't want to do that. The teachers union doesn't want to do that. And here's where it gets interesting. Our state legislatures, they're part of this para. So they don't want to get rid of it because, hey, you know, if they put so many years in government, you know, they stand to benefit from this Cadillac plan that the rest of us don't get.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, because my son works for the state of Oklahoma, but he also works for the college. But all of his retirement goes through, because it's a state college, it all goes through the state retirement plan.
Right.
And but they have it set up like a 401k. You get, you know, you can set it up contributions the way you want, and they're sort of a cross between a 401k and profit sharing, both, you know.
Right.
And that's see, profit sharing hurts a little bit because if there's no profit for the company or for the state, well, you know,
there you go.
taxes go down.
There
You don't
go.
get as much. You know, it's, but they he has a pretty solid. Now, his department may get its budget cut, but he's going to have his retirement. You know,
Right.
but yeah, a lot of pension plans are going to be hurt because of COVID-19 and because of you know, the way the Democrats, like you said, they can't budget money. You know, they're those rich kids that, you know, you know, hey, Dad, I need another $150 for lunch today.
Yeah.
Why do you need so much?
There you go.
I have to show an image and I have to keep it up because, you know, you send me to the most expensive private school there is, and, you know, they cater the lunch. You know, we have catered pizza, you know, for $150. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go down to Little Caesars. You know, you can get their best pizza for $6.99. Their most asbestos pizza,
Yeah.
$6.99. Double cheese, double crust. Worked for me. It'll work for you. You know, that's the problem. They don't do that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get. Judy and I can get one of those pizzas and live off of for damn near a week.
Yeah.
Just because they're pretty good sized pizzas. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I always get the small pizza, and that lasts me a couple meals, so that works for me.
Carlos said, "Sounds like a cocaine lunch." Yeah, well, there could be that too. You know.
So
That's it. See, the liberals have to pay for their drug addictions.
yeah, their addiction is power, and they've gotten to a
Yes.
point where the people and that doesn't matter anymore. They'd rather see the economy go to shits and hurt as many people as possible, thinking that this will hurt Trump and people will vote for them. Oh yeah, let's vote for the people that tanked our economy. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
I've watched this movie. I actually own the movie. It's Captain Blood with Errol Flynn.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and they had a thing where when they robbed a ship, you know, or as pirates, they shared in the loot. Each one of them got a set percentage of that share, you know, set amount. Now, if you lost right hand in the fight, you got more money for that right hand. Left hand, you didn't get quite as much. A left foot didn't get as much as a right foot because people tend to be right-handed. So I remember this one character who was just, I think his name is called Lazy Nettle. He was always a schemer and trying to get out of work, And in this particular case, he wanted a little extra gold. So he goes over to the corner where nobody can see him, grabs a pistol, and he shoots off his toe because he wants that extra bonus. That's the Democrats. They keep shooting their toes, so that thinking that they're going to get the extra out of it,
And on that note,
that's the best example.
I want to thank everybody for coming to the show, and hope you all have a pleasant Sunday. Hopefully, it'll be a more peaceful night than last night, and that all this craziness will go away soon, and we can get back to taking care of our family, or if you're single like me, take care of myself and just live day to day and get ready for vacations and stuff. So,
right.
Everybody
Like I
have
said,
a great day. God bless you, folks, and we'll catch you next week on Art's Place. Take care, everybody.